Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. So yesterday there was an attempt on the former president's life. Donald Trump was shot at one of his rallies in Pennsylvania.
To our country, probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Now, before I begin with my dissertation of the whole situation, I'm going to start out by saying I don't believe anything I see on the TV or internet. I just don't. I don't believe anything that I see. And with this particular situation, it doesn't seem like everything's on the level to me. Now, before I get into why I feel like that, of course, I got to say that going after political leaders and trying to, take them out of the game permanently, you have to say the obligatory, oh, that's not the answer, da, 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 da. That is so wrong, even though, this country's political history is rife with people being assassinated, assassination attempts, all types of stuff. I mean, the last time there was an attempt on a president's life that we know about was Ronald Reagan back in the early 80s.
President Reagan!
But then you had Gabby Giffords get shot, I believe in Arizona, way back in the early 2000s, where, she survived, but she, had significant damage and everything. This country has a history of assassinating political figures, political leaders, and all of that, right? And a lot of times, as time goes past, it's never just that we learn that it's never just this random act from some, zealot or some extremist that wants to get a political point across. When it comes to this particular thing, they've killed the gunman. The gunman was killed. It's a 20-year-old white guy, because initially, me and my friends, we were like, sit up here like, hopefully this ain't a black dude, because you already know how a lot of people are going to perceive that if it was a black or a brown person, they were just going to run away with it, right? They're already running away with it, saying, oh, look at these leftists. They've been calling for Donald Trump's demise and his downfall for the last 8 years. So obviously it's going to come to this culmination of somebody losing their marbles and going to a rally and taking an attempt on the president's life. But see, this is where I'm going to start to get into the whole conspiracy theory territory, okay? If you know anything about security, if you know anything, even just basic security, we're not even talking about top level Secret Service security. We're just talking about basic security. You would know that these events are staged days, sometimes weeks ahead of time. And if you're a part of the security detail, we talk about Secret Service here, your job is to go and assess the area, the venue, if you will, for any security breaches, like lines of sight. Okay, how can somebody hit the speaker from here? Rooftops, okay, windows. Like, these are basic things that should be covered even before the rally begins. If it's in the neighborhood, they will literally come to every house in that neighborhood and make sure that it is a secure environment for the president to come and visit that neighborhood. This is what they do. So when you sit up there and you tell me that a 20-year-old with a rifle, potentially a full metal jacket, is able to go into a rally, okay, in front of all of these people, get right up in front of the president with a clear line of sight, about 50 to 100 yards away, and be able to take that many shots without the freaking Secret Service having, like, people could say, oh, it's a failure in intelligence. No, this is like amateur hour. There's no goddamn way that anybody should have been able to sneak past the Secret Service like that. So when I look at that, that already, gives me pause, okay? Number two, when a busting started, and it sounded like a rifle. To me, it sounded like a 22 caliber rifle. That's just from what it sounded like to me, but it could have been anything. It could have been, he could have had a suppressor on it. We don't know. We know he had a scope with a rifle. But as the shots are going off, to me, the reaction time of the Secret Service was fucking lax, because the first time I hear popping at security detail, the president's getting off that motherfucking stage.
And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
I'm getting him fucking out of there. I'm not gonna wait for, what I'm saying? I gotta assess the situation, but the first thing is to secure the client, right? Is to secure him. So they secure him, right? Shots are going off. Like, okay, when stuff like that goes on, there's a lot of confusion, right? Even though you got an earpiece in your ear, you're listening to what's going through. Even if somebody calls out one shotter and say calls out the shooter and says the shooter is neutralized, right? Because they obviously killed the boy quickly. Killed the shooter. My thing as security detail is, how do we know there's only one shooter? So the last thing I'm going to let you do is get up, do a photo op where you fist bump in the air with the American flag draped behind you and all that, when you're already bleeding. So they already got your ass, supposedly. They already got you in the ear, and you're able to do a whole photo op and all that. It just seems like a effing setup to me. It don't seem real. It seems like a script, like everything else we've been watching over the last fucking 20 years in this world, right? And y'all would say, well, why would Donald Trump and why would they be playing along with this? Well, okay, I'll give you this. Over the last few years, what has been happening on the world stage? The United States empire has been pushing us closer and closer to the precipice of World War III, right? We all know this. They're on Russia's doorstep. There's things going on in the Middle East that I can't speak on because those people have control over all of this. But there's things in Taiwan and Asia that they're talking about. They're pushing us to the cusp of war. But when you talk to the citizenry, right? I'm saying you talk to your everyday man, nobody wants to go to war. Not no soldiers, not the blue people, left, right. Nobody's like, we tired of war. We've been dealing with this shit our whole life. We done with this, right? And especially nobody wants to go to war for Joe Biden. However, like I said, they pushed us so close to the precipice of war that whoever's the president next isn't going to just be able to snap his fingers and pull us back from that. Because some of our adversaries are already accusing us of bombing civilian, infrastructure and killing civilians. So those people going to want their get back. And when that get back happens, the president's hands, whoever the president is, his or her hands are going to be tied, and he's not going to be able to say, okay, we're not going to go to war. And in that moment, that president is going to have to get on TV and get on the internet and ask the American public to sacrifice once again blood and treasure to go and defend quote unquote democracy. That's what's coming, right? But Joe Biden can't sell that ticket. I did a census myself on my page on TikTok to see how many people are willing to send their kids to war a couple months ago. And just unanimously, I don't give a fuck what demographic you are. Everybody's like, I'm not sending my kids to die. I'm not, fuck that. I'm talking about Marines. I'm talking about Army. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about police. These are all people saying they're not sending their kids to war. Okay, this is a couple months ago. That was under Joe Biden. I'm not gonna send my kids to die for Joe Biden. However, as we can see, now that there was an attempt on a former president's life, more than likely he's going to win the election. I mean, he just got clout like a motherfucker. You even got 50 Cent, dedicating his song "Many Men" to him last night at a show.
Many men wish death upon me, Lord. I don't cry no more.
It is up and it's stuck. So more than likely, what's his face? Trump is going to be president again, right? And like in that scenario of war, he's going to be the president that gets on TV and says, hey, my fellow Americans, I need y'all to come and defend democracy once again on this battlefield over in Europe, over in the Middle East, over in the fucking Pacific theater, right? And now that it's Trump, a man who has survived an assassination attempt, the American hero, many men wish death upon me. He survived it, right? He's popular. He's popular amongst everybody now. So it's a lot of people that were telling me 2 months ago that they wouldn't send their kids to die for Biden that would definitely, happily now, especially that there was an assassination attempt and a photo op, send their kids over there to die for President Trump. I promise you, this is all a game. This is the Game of Thrones. Y'all watch the Game of Thrones and y'all watch them. Y'all were able to understand the political intrigue in that show, right? And how behind the scenes, there's these puppet masters that are playing the puppeteers and ultimately playing the general public, right? And what happens in those scenarios? Ultimately leads to some grand calamity, like I keep saying, the fourth turning, where society shifts into this whole new era, right? And that's what we're in. We're in the fourth turning, right? So right now, they're trying to shift us into this whole other era. And there's no one man that's going to be able to stop that from happening. The tracks are already laid, and it's just trying to go down that motherfucker now, right? And Trump is going to be the one that's going to lead these kids and these young people into the next war, the last war of this particular civilization, right? Until we switch over to the next one, to this technological fucking age that they want to usher in. But we have to go through this fire first. And this fire is over the next few years. It's the perfect fucking setup. And people, I was alive after 9/11, like many of you were, and y'all saw the fever Y'all saw how the government was able to get into people's heads and how so many people for a long time, damn near a decade, worshiped George W. Bush, worshiped Donald Rumsfeld, worshiped this idea that America exceptionalism was enough to justify us going into the Middle East and destabilizing 6 different countries in the region. You understand? And now that there's an attempt on the president's life, it's about to shift, right? It's a perfect setup. Perfect. You can't write it no better. You can't. You saying that this man was able to dodge a bullet like an inch away from his head, like just a milliliter later, his head would have been blown off? I don't believe none of this, bro. I don't. So with that being said, I had to speak on this. I'll do a few more videos probably on TikTok, but I have to be very careful and limited in what I say here on YouTube about anything political. But I pretty much got all my thoughts out as far as the Trump attempt and why I believe this is all theater in order to set us up for this grand conflict that we're about to enter into. Because Trump is the one that is going to be like, oh, I tried diplomacy with Russia. They didn't listen. I tried diplomacy with this. Because remember, he had 4 years of no war, right? So he's already the non-war candidate. It's a setup. It's a setup from beginning, middle to end, including Biden. All of what we're watching is political theater. Left, right. When I say Trump is winning the president, he was set up to win. He was made to win, just like Biden was made to win last time, so he can do all this crazy stuff and they can blame it on some, senile old man that fucked up the country and sent us to this. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna say, oh, the reason we're unemployment is through the roof, the reason we're in this new Great Depression, the reason that inflation can't come down, the reason that people are losing their houses is because we had a fucking old geriatric man in there. Oh, but don't worry about that right now. We're at war, and Donald Trump is going to ask y'all to go to war for him. I promise you that's what's going to happen over this next 4 years. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on this whole thing. What a crazy time to be alive. It seems like there's always a new episode or something. There's every couple of days, they always add on some new DLC, you feel me, to this thing we call life. And with that being said, go ahead, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, bye-bye. Oh, and before I go, be careful with what y'all say on the internet, please. And this is coming from me, okay? I'm very careful with what I say on the internet, regardless of how, boisterous I can be. Don't be making threats to state officials, okay? Don't be saying, oh, I wish, death upon these people openly like that, because y'all will get a visit by the FBI. Y'all will. And a lot of y'all ain't ready for that type of visit. So chill the fuck out, okay? All right, y'all.